really go along too, and some stuff
at Archery Park.
you didn't show up.
So that was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I've got the same kids now.
It was a lot of fun. I would say I'm
here.
met expectations.
And in October we'll do a more adult-oriented coyote hike.
She was really
Coyote hike.
good, and she got
Talk about what the
a volunteer
coyotes.
from the center. Great.
I have, yeah. The community park ones are pretty out there this year. I think I've seen them every time.
Is that what you do by?
Oh, college?
Yeah, college.
Yeah, we'll go to community park, which means probably that one night they won't show up. You know, once the pups are big enough to be out of the den, they don't actually use them that much. So the only time they use them is really
Let me bring my
springtime,
car real quick and see.
from March around May, June.
I do, now I have to go punch you down.
Very possibly. So there was at least 4, there may have been 5. And the pups, one of the pups was particularly brazen. And then I think it's a female from when I saw her, has some mange. Mange is they get a mite that attaches to the hair follicle, makes them all itchy, so they start losing their hair, and they just feel bad. So I don't think she was moving around a whole lot this summer. She didn't feel very well. So I saw her pretty frequently in community park, and I think the male was doing more of the hunting, roaming around. And then the pups do, and it takes them a while to realize that they should stay to themselves.
Yeah. I remember, my daughter was with, probably 2 years ago. She was walking on the side of the right foot. And I give you research, it's like I was so stunned when I realized how she
That was what we were talking about.
I thought it was a long time ago.
I can't remember. It was a long time
You know,
ago.
I think sometimes they just get
Voice by now?
Yeah.
Usually when like credit card
they get
voice,
kind of ambivalent.
somebody on Paul's
You know, these now, there are multiple generations, superior coyotes. And one of the things I talk to them about is how responding a little bit louder to them to make them afraid of people, because they forget. And we're all
Hey, Mike, how are you?
It's like walking
Good.
your dog.
Mike, this is Chris Hansen. You haven't had a chance to meet before. Hi.
You know, they're out.
Mike and I were the most recent
They're like, oh, it's, you know,
by the
it's just
board.
Mike again. You see him all the time.
Time.
You know.
Tyler, great.
And
Caitlin,
then
that would
they
have been
have
a meeting.
That's
February
or
so, January.
All right, so you're almost a veteran. So Chris has been on the board for what?
Actually, maybe you're bored.
7.5 years. Hey, yes, how you doing? Hey, welcome. Yeah. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So welcome to the party.
Beer. Yeah. Take one of the big seats. Glad you can make it.
Yeah, I am too.
Do you think it's going to be a regular thing, or I'm sorry we haven't been able to change the time around, but
It will. Is this the normal night? Is Thursday evenings to be?
Yes.
yeah, usually it's the
Yeah, once certain times of the year come around, it'll be a little more difficult, but
sure.
I could probably make arrangements to have someone take my place if you.
Okay.
But then there'll be some nights I can't. RCAP meetings, I should be able to come through one of those. That's not a problem, so I can report back to you guys, or at least report back to you and Mark on what's
Excellent.
going on in the county.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Cool. Thanks.
So I've also heard from Michelle Martin that she left work late. And
Okay.
she'll be here probably closer to 6.
Okay. Gotcha. Do you know if anyone else is?
I haven't heard from anybody else.
Okay.
Colleen, like, remember she told us a few months ago was going to be able to switch her schedule around so that she could come to the meetings when school started again.
Mhm.
I heard from Tanya, and then Caitlin said she would be here, so maybe it's good for a couple of minutes. I can't remember where she's coming from.
Okay. Excellent. Okay.
Is that? Yeah, once,
And are you here for a public comment, or just to attend, or?
No, I met you a couple
That's right.
consulting and
Mhm.
kind of vacuum marking up.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, it's been a very long day, so I was like, you looked really familiar.
A long
Yeah.
summer.
Yep. Perfect. Thanks. Looks like someone else is coming. Cool. Hey.
Hi, Colleen. How are you?
Thanks, how are you?
Just giving everyone a few more minutes.
What?
Just giving everyone a few more minutes, so
Yeah,
we're just
exactly.
hanging out. Has everything been going for you?
Oh, great.
Nice.
I'm always so close when you guys have your meetings, because I work over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fair enough.
Except that the 30 hits like 3 different possible schedule times, you know?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Have you had people coming in asking for Eclipse classes?
oh, you know what the thing is? Now they're just asking for welding. It's so funny, because I usually get 2 people a month asking where the welding stuff is, like 8 calls, and I tell them, we have number 4, we have number 10, and then we have clear stuff that definitely doesn't even come close.
Right.
So you cannot use it, like people don't believe you. Like, it's so funny. I'm like, no, you will blight yourself. and then there's a guy over in appliances who's telling everyone, oh, it's just a fallacy. You could just use regular sunglasses. I'm like,
Oh, no.
I know he's telling
No.
everyone that. I'm like,
No.
I wouldn't do it. I'm just telling you, go home.
No,
and
it's
and
about
he's just
UV,
like,
which, yeah.
he thinks it's like a government conspiracy.
Eclipse, yeah. Sure.
I know that I went down to the annular eclipse down in Albuquerque, and there you can't take it off because annular is where it's a total, except that the moon is on the furthest phase. It's further away, so you just see the ring around it. Really spectacular. A little bit more rare than a total eclipse. I mean, where it darkens, but just using my glasses, my eyes hurt for about 3 or 4 days afterwards. I got this really intense low-grade headache that lasted for days. And then I read later on, you shouldn't, even with the glasses, you shouldn't look for more than 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Like, fry your eyes. Are you guys going up?
I am not. No, I'll still be around here.
Okay, I asked for the days off when I started my job.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
within like 2 weeks, I'm like, where do I get the vacation time? I was shocked, like nobody even cares.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Interesting.
They gave the time off. I was gonna head up, but my wife's pregnant, and so
Oh,
we were worried about coming back in.
congratulations.
Oh, thanks so much. But yeah,
is
we
she
were worried.
pretty far along?
Yeah, she's at 6 months now, I guess.
Okay.
So
And what are you worried about?
just coming back because we were gonna go up to Wyoming, but they're now warning people to plan on like having 12 hours worth of food and water and stuff if you're driving back from Wyoming to Colorado. We were like, it sounds like a lot to be stuck in a car for that long. So.
I knew. 2 things are going to happen. Either it is going to be a disaster, or it's going to be like in 1984 I was in LA for the Olympics. So they said it's going to be gridlock like you've never seen. So everyone left town. It was the lightest traffic we'd ever seen in LA ever. It's the biggest joke for anyone.
Yeah.
1984 in LA. Oh, remember the Olympics? Oh yeah, you could actually drive places.
Yeah, so I figured it's
So-
one of those two, but yeah.
I mean,
figured
I've been
all the
waiting for
options.
like decades. Like I have a newspaper article from like 1987, so I have been waiting for
Nice.
this. Right? So I'm like, and of course things can always happen, but I am not going up the I-25. I'm going up 76. I've known for
That
months.
sounds like a better way to go.
I'm going
Yeah.
up to Nebraska. I'm taking
Nice.
2-lane roads. You know, if I have to get out and crawl,
Right.
run, whatever.
Well, it sounds like we'll be having a lot more total eclipses, not necessarily over the U.S., but there will be a lot more in general happening over the next decade or so. So
There's 2 a year. But the thing is, it's
Yeah,
where it's
that's
at,
true.
because like if it's in the
Yeah,
middle of
that's
the
true.
Indian Ocean, or especially places with like ocean, in the middle of the ocean with a lot of cloud cover,
Yeah.
who cares, you know, if you can't see unless you're in a plane. But
I think they're like 3 or 4 in the next 10 years. I heard that were
I thought it was like a
so.
pretty set thing, but I think the difference is, where is it at? Is it someplace that has likely to have clear skies, and is
Yeah.
it someplace where you can actually get to? Because
Yep.
like if it's in the Tibetan mountains.
Right, a little harder. Yeah.
But in 7 years, we'll have one down through Texas, you know, and going up.
Yeah.
It's a longer drive.
Yeah.
Well, that one goes right over my parents' place in New York.
Oh, nice.
so-
Oh, in New York?
That'd be fun.
Western New York.
Oh, very cool.
So we
And
could do it
see-
from their house.
Oh, and it's in February, so like, what if there's a snowstorm, right?
Yeah.
Is it
there's
February
that.
or?
It's in April.
Oh, April, okay.
Early spring.
See, that's so iffy, it could be perfect or it could be.
Yeah, who knows? It could be raining.
I think that's why all like the scientists are heading towards eastern Washington because the Cascades, they know, suck out, that's like the most likely place along the whole route for it to be dry.
Cool. All right.
Hi.
Hey.
All right.
Oh, by the way, we keep hiring more and more people. You
Is
can
this
tell
actually-
college degrees are worth nothing because they come to work at Lowe's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you have, there's something where you make cartoons, it's a,
All right, should we go ahead and get started?
yeah.
Cool. Is there any public comment, or do we just want to go ahead and jump straight in? Cool.
So just introductions for everybody. Most people, well, everybody knows me, and I had a chance to say hello to Ed, who's here attending as a member of the community tonight. And then everybody knows Ashley from a couple of months ago, who's done some consulting work in the past and can help support on some of the program items with me. And then tonight we have Chris Hansen here, trustee from for 7.5 years.
Wow.
I guess a total of 2 terms now. So he's going to be, like I mentioned last month, or I guess he was here. RCAP, the county's advisory board on recycling and conservation, had a position open from the town, and I wasn't able to go very often, and Chris has been able to make time in his schedule, so he was appointed by the town board in May to serve as the town's representative. So it's great to have Chris in that role, and so he'll try to be available to make the meetings for RCAP going forward.
Cool. Welcome.
Thanks.
So we're back to having a council or a board liaison. We had Joe Sorelli for a number of years, like you all know.
Mhm.
And with him stepping down, Chris has been able to make some time in the schedule. So it's great to have him.
Excellent.
So no public comment. We can jump into the new business and updates. Some of the things I think I've already touched on that we had in the updates from last month. This is basically last month's agenda with this month's date on it, since I think it was a nice conversation with Essie.
Yep.
And me last month, and maybe 1 or 2 citizens. So we have a couple of things to follow from the last couple of months, and then we start off with newsletter. So Chili Fest is coming up. It's always that second Saturday in September, 2 to 6. I didn't have anybody's name down who would be interested in staffing the booth this month. I had Elisa with her a question mark next to her name if she was going to be in town then. But I
I'm
hadn't-
available if needed, so I can volunteer for that.
That'd be
Thanks.
great. And I'll put a reminder in the meeting notes, and if anybody else is interested and available to be here, maybe split the shifts up like we've talked about for other events. Maybe spend an hour or 2. This is a 2 to 6.
Mhm.
It's a fun event. If you haven't had a chance to attend it, it's definitely worth the time investment. It's a fun event.
Mhm.
So that's coming up. Meals on Wheels is a great nonprofit that serves Superior residents, and then, like we've talked about in the past, promoting transit and the call and ride service has been a real focus for the town over the last year. So we're going to try and get the folks who provide that service to us to have a dedicated bus go over with Mayor Clint Folsom for a lunch and get an introduction to the Meals on Wheels program over at Josephine Commons. Book drop is here.
I have a question. The RTD, if you worked or lived in Louisville, they gave like $50 bus cards and $100 ones for kids. How did they do that? Is that something they probably funded through the city? If they did that, even though RTD was passing it out, they did it at Louisville Library like about 2 weeks ago. I got $200 worth of bus stuff.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I just wonder if that's something that the town could just apply for, or if they actually funded it, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
I don't know
I'd be
either.
glad
I
to
should
check
have
on it.
asked.
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, because sometimes people just get like a card and then they think, oh, I need to use it, and then,
Mhm.
then they
Mhm.
realize, oh, this is like so much better than driving, right?
The regular monthly updates on the transit options. This is group as a proponent of transit, there were a couple of items. So fall garden in a box. So this was an item that the committee recommended a few months ago, having the town sign up and join, and we did. The fall garden in a box, like you can imagine, isn't nearly as popular as the spring and summer. So we're going to sponsor, I think, 15. We're sponsoring 15 gardens for the fall garden in a box, and so far 6 have been purchased. So it's about halfway over. It's about right.
What's the cost on it?
Excellent.
About 100.
It varies
There's-
depending on which garden option you choose.
Mhm.
There's a range you can pick.
And this
Shade
is,
garden.
this is sold to the community residents who buy this.
Exactly, yeah.
That's, and there's, how many have only been sold? Just 15?
Well,
the town's
so
gonna
we
sponsor
provide-
15,
Yeah?
and we've sold
Vouchers.
6.
We did
Or,
this
well,
last spring.
CRC has
Mhm.
sold
Oh,
6.
I
so
bought
far.
one.
I did too.
Oh,
Okay.
how did yours do?
But we do more in the spring and summer as well. We have a lot more.
Yeah, I had to put like.
It seems like
Available.
that's a no-brainer that we'd sell all those.
Great, yeah.
Um,
And I
Yeah, the
believe
spring
in the
ones
spring
sold
they
out.
do
I would
tend to
assume.
sell
How
out.
about this?
So it's a box that you actually grow the plants into
They
the
have
box.
little plants.
Yeah, they give you starter
Mhm.
plants, and then they give you like a planting guide
Looks
for
like this.
how to
Oh.
lay them
Yeah.
out.
So how do we do it? See,
You
I
sign
saw
up
it in, I saw it in the
online.
newsletter, but I
Mhm.
never really read through it. So we signed up, because I want to buy one.
Yeah,
You
so if
go
you,
online.
They're really
yeah.
cool.
You can pick one of them. So there's different, you get a
And it
box full of
asks what
plants.
water district you're with when you're
Mhm.
purchasing,
Okay.
and that's how it knows like to take off a voucher if we still have them available for Superior.
Okay, and the price range is what?
It's kind of 100 to 150. Yeah.
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 Okay.
The less expensive one was $74, and
But
it's
it's
sold
out of stock, so.
Yeah.
it's-
Mhm.
And there's a half a dozen or so left.
Yes. And it's a $25 offset by the town.
Did, so it was in the newsletter, was it posted on the CAC or anything like that?
I don't remember.
I don't know about TAC.
I'm not sure if it was posted there.
Boy, I think that you could probably get rid of all 6 of them just by
Mhm.
posting there. Okay, that's good to know.
How does that work with the HOA?
What's a
Yeah.
CAC? What's a CAC?
Okay, good question. CAC is the Community Bulletin Board.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
There's no issue with the HOA.
So they already pre-approved the plan, how do these boxes?
Approval is
Uh,
separate. The Architectural Control Committee for the HOA approves all landscape plans, but an individual garden like this could be a replacement. But a wholesale landscape change is something that would have to be presented as a plan that the Architectural Control Committee reviews.
I
So-
was just curious, we
Hmm?
just did some landscaping.
If you can do replacements, sure, but some people want to go from the, now that a lot of homes in the community are pushing 20 years old, some folks are rethinking their landscape. Jim Payne, who serves as the representative or a liaison from the HOA, often attends these meetings. I don't know if he'll be able to make it tonight, but he's let the group know in the past that when residents are interested in making a xeric change to their yard, thinking that it will be less maintenance and less upkeep, and then also have the additional benefit of reducing water consumption, it's great. They're all for processing applications like that, but the actual transition requires a full formal plan that can be approved with a species palette that can be reviewed to make sure that it's consistent with HOA's covenants. It's not xeriscape. Xeric is just a way of re-landscaping your yard. It's not a hardscape. So there's some additional steps, and Jim's been here several times and talked about that in the past. And they're great about processing the applications.
Mhm.
But the gardens themselves, the gardens in a box, they're small.
And these are fall weather plants.
Yeah, plants to plant them in the fall.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I like
Okay, so we'll put Chris down for number 7.
that. So I just go to the
I need to order
newsletter,
mine
right?
tonight.
and Click on the link and then sign up for it and it gets shipped
Yeah.
to me?
No, you have
No,
to
you
go
have to
pick it up.
They have,
Do it on the weekends.
Yeah,
It's fine.
they have several pickup locations,
Okay.
and so they'll give you a variety of dates to choose
Perfect.
from, and
Maybe
locations.
we should just sign Chris up on the website now.
Yeah, we just walk through it
I
together.
need to get my
Just get out
wallet
your
now,
credit
right?
card.
It's
Are
on
you really
public
gonna send me a
record.
bill?
I could,
Exactly.
but you probably
Why
not.
is
Let's do it after the meeting. Let me
Let
do it, because I gotta get my wallet out of my car.
There are also a number of different options to consider as well, so depending on what sort of plants look most
Yeah.
appealing.
Yeah, no, this is great.
Mhm.
We get, through Monarch High School, we got, sorry I'm getting off topic, but my wife bought one of these plants for one of their fundraisers, and it's the most beautiful plant, and it's bloomed, and so now I'm thinking we could do more of these around the house, outside. And it's outside stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the newsletter, so the highlights that are related to sustainability and RCAC items, there continues to be the 2 vacancies on this group.
Have we had applicants?
There have not been any new applicants.
Okay.
One of these days, eventually.
Thought I'd ask.
There is some new Energy Smart income qualified solar rebates that are available. So every season, the county, through a group purchasing effort with the area jurisdictions in the county, has different offers. So it's been solar and electric vehicles and electric bicycles. So right now the season is electric bicycles, and then there's also a household income eligibility Energy Smart IQ service for solar. Yeah, solar, up to $3,000. So right now there's 2 options available. We've looked at this the bike program once or twice before. I was looking at these earlier. So there's 2 groups that are doing this: Full Cycle and Small Planet e-bikes, and they have a 25% discount and also or a 10 to 20% discount on the different kinds of bikes. So the last time they did this last year, I brought these up and we were going through the models of the bikes, and it's pretty much the same models, and it's still that same price range: $3,000 on the higher end, $1,100, $1,000 on the lower end for these electric assisted bikes. There's some great choices. So that's in the newsletter again this month, and then the offer expires on September 30th. Anybody know anybody that got one last year or in this cycle? No?
I don't.
I haven't seen, I've seen a couple around town, but I don't know if they were purchased through this. And then the ongoing items that we have at the end of the newsletter: yard waste recycling site open all year, the high winds, the bulk item discard, and then the Do Gooder Superior, Ashley's famous video now. And then the household hazardous waste. There are 2 new ones that the county's household management, hazardous materials management staff have been able to add back into the countywide services available. We tried to get graphics. They have new cards that they're handing out, and they're putting in the county's media and materials on where to drop off household sharps, and then also dropping off for disposal unwanted medication. So we'll have this as an ongoing item in the newsletter going forward. That was a great service that the county was able to add back by taking the medications. So those are the highlights in the newsletter this month. And thank you, Caitlin, for checking your schedule and being available for Chili Fest. I'll put a reminder out and see if there's somebody else that can help you. But right now,
Okay.
maybe plan for 2 o'clock, and then we'll see if somebody can maybe come at 3 or 3:30 or 4 and
That'd be nice.
kick in with you. So we talked about Chili Fest, the committee reappointment schedule. The town board at their 2nd meeting in May, I think it was May 22nd, reappointed Colleen. So you're appointed for another term.
Make it more often.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. We missed you this summer. Thanks for making the time tonight. The next item, I've got one item on here that I neglected to put on the agenda. So budget schedule. The town has an internal budget review committee that is working to finalize the budget, and then we'll post it online and here at Town Hall, and then give copies for the board to review in preparation for the Finance Committee meetings that are going to start next month. Right now, there's 1 meeting scheduled. There'll probably be a couple, maybe 2, 3, 4, depending on the, just what comes up as follow-up items during the discussion. So the first one is scheduled for September 26th at 1 o'clock here in this room for anybody that's interested. And in May, we talked about the items that this group was going to continue to advocate for. Dog waste compost program, continuing to have the giveaway items for the events, and having additional staff resources, and some of the other programs we've talked about. The one item that this group has talked about that isn't right now, is not in the preliminary budget, is the bulk item pickup, the coordinated bulk item pickup with the HOA. It was an item that this group was interested in, that Michelle Horton was very passionate about over the last couple of years, in bringing that back and trying to find a way to have that be included in the budget. But again, this year it's not, so just as an FYI. But other than that, the items that this group has been advocating for can remain in the budget.
So how much was the bulk pickup? Is that why it was it's not in the budget this year?
It was discontinued I want to say about 4 years ago. It was being exploited and taken advantage
Right.
of by other jurisdictions, and a lot of folks who are commercial contractors were dropping off their waste in front of different houses, or leaving things that should have been incorporated in the cost to do the work. I have some
Right.
great pictures of a stack of restaurant tables that somebody obviously had at their business that they dropped off in front of their house. And then a number of people had either pools or jacuzzis or other construction projects and just brought it out to the front of their yard. So our last bulk item pickup event was in excess of $54,000, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
So it went from being a really nice neighborhood service that was maybe in the $20,000 range to being something that was taken advantage of
Right.
at the end. And it's a service, it's a program that other jurisdictions around us discontinued, probably for some of the same reasons, and then we became kind of the dumping ground, either fortunate or
Right.
unfortunate. Hi, Michelle.
You know what I always did when we did it? I told everyone that I worked with about it, and they would come over and pick up stuff. Like, it was the opposite. Seriously, when the year they stopped doing it, people were like, when are you doing that superior thing where they put all the good stuff out? Because people would put out, like, nice furniture, and I got skate cord ramps one year, and, bolts of fabric. So I wonder if we could address that next year, maybe, perhaps?
Sure you can, or if you're interested in advocating for it, feel free to take part in the budget review with the finance committee.
Okay.
But it's an item, it's an agenda item or a budget item that we talked about, and I shared with you staff's perspective,
Right.
that it was something that was clearly being taken advantage of by folks
is
who are
a
not
problem.
residents.
I wonder if we can do like a registration and like keep it secret.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like, don't put it on a webpage, like secretly send letters, right?
Mhm.
And go register.
I proposed that 3 years ago based on the success of the town that we live in Wyoming, and it was just not even considered.
Have a
For
secret
what
handshake?
it's worth, I
Why-
like the
why?
program.
Yeah.
I was in favor
some
of
here.
keeping it, but I understand the concerns. I like the idea of registering for it. That's a good way to control it, and you can register and tell exactly what you're gonna have. If somebody's putting in 25 restaurant tables, then you know that there's an issue.
Mhm.
But I would like to see it come back, and maybe that's a discussion we can have at the finance committee meeting if you guys wanna move it forward.
Yeah, maybe a ticketing system or something where people
Yeah.
get a ticket that then when they come to pick it up, it has to match.
Yeah.
Is that what
Mhm.
happened in that I thought you said that you get a sticker?
Yeah, they like stickered it. I mean, I completely agree with the people taking advantage thing, so don't get me wrong there. But yeah, funny enough, it's a very small town in Wyoming, and they had to do this system because of the same issues, because people would just suddenly show up and take advantage of, and you've got like, the lumber yard dumping stuff in some of these yards saying it's there. So yeah, I can probably even figure out exactly, well, not exactly how they did it, but some good information about it. And, but yeah, it was big items, like, I have this many fridges. They knew exactly what was coming for them.
Mhm.
So, and I think it's even fair to say that the town could charge for larger things if that's the case too,
Still be
Kind of
convenient just
offset
have
some
it
of the
picked up.
cost. Huh?
Yeah, it'd still be convenient just have things
It
picked up
would, yeah,
regardless
because there's
of.
stuff I would put out there and happily pay somebody to take, just
Mhm.
because otherwise it requires me hiring a vehicle to take it away, so.
Yeah.
I think there's
If I
ways to
remember
go about
correctly,
it.
the
Mhm.
last time we talked about this in detail, probably that 3 years ago timeframe, Michelle, was when we talked about this in a lot more detail. And Jim Payne and I from the HOA were trying to figure out a way to coordinate something like that, but one of the snags at the time was figuring out how to process and take money associated with this project, and it would take some logistics and some setup. And with enough lead time, it was absolutely something that could be achieved, but it's not something we can come back to in April and then in May have the event. So
Makes
it would
sense.
take
If
some
you-
logistics. and
That makes
some
sense, so if you
preparation.
talk about it now,
Absolutely
it's
doable.
something you can deal with, because we had to go to town clerk to do our registration there, and so it would be a similar type of thing here. If you have somebody at the desk, then that's who you go to see to get your tags and get signed up and all that stuff.
I think he's a town resident, but there's a guy that started a business, or it's a franchise, it's called Got Junk or something like that. And you call these guys and they come out to your house, and I'm wondering if there's a way that those things that we'd have to charge residents to haul in, maybe we get them involved in the chamber, if they're chamber members, and have them come out and pick that stuff up instead of having it go to Superior Maintenance and picked up all this stuff before.
We had different companies do it in the past when it was a town town-run program.
Yeah.
And then Waste Connections, the town's trash provider, that's both the HOA and the town, they
Yeah.
offer a bulk item pickup for a small additional fee depending what the item is.
Yeah.
And then the last
Probably
time,
about the same range.
yeah, because didn't the last time though, they had the like contract comforter, like, I think, really quick on the side because like the waste doubled from the projection or something like that. So it might be what you're
Right.
thinking of, Chris.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Is it like Waste Connections had come and made their estimate the day before and then overnight
That's like
everything
half
came out?
of what, yeah.
It was some rickety old truck, you know, it looked like it was like from the hills of West Virginia, right? Remember that?
But I think there's more thought put into it
Mhm.
in creative ways, you know?
Absolutely.
It's worth exploring. Sorry, I kind of walked in mid-thing, but I definitely support it, so.
So if that was
Me
something
too.
that, is this, just being new to the committee, is this something that would be an agenda item maybe that you really put some thought into how this could work and then report back to the board? Or does it have to be added to their work plan, right? And the
Any
board
tasks
has to
that the
approve it.
board expects the committee to complete would need to be work plan tasks. So it'd be something, if the board was interested in potentially including this in the 2018 budget, then it would be work plan items if there was an expectation for the committee to work out the logistics of an operation like that.
Okay, would you guys be fine if I sent an email out to the board tomorrow and said that you guys are really interested in making this work, understanding that there are some people that abused it, but you want to meet and discuss options so that there's less abuse, but we can still re-implement the program?
Yeah.
Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's good.
Are we on budget asking for the same amount for the spring garden in a box, or did we increase the amount that we were requesting for vouchers?
It can be incorporated in next year's budget, the 15 total gardens, and then the additional 50 for the spring. So we're fine budget-wise.
Okay.
Did we use up all 50? Is that what we said? Did they all get sold?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And Caitlin, you asked me if there are any extra, and I want to say that I heard there was an additional 8 that were purchased by Superior residents that weren't sponsored by the town.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So there were some, but
Gotcha.
not nearly as many as the result of being sponsored.
I know-
Hey, there's another thing. We're on the thing, you know, where you get the toilet replaced, you know, through the resource center, and you get like, it's reduced. But they stopped it at 1 per household. I have like 4 toilets. I have a lot of kids in my house. I was wondering, is that something that we can negotiate and say, because maybe like there's little houses in Boulder that only have 1 bathroom, but every place here has, you know, if we're looking to get water conservation, 1 toilet is like 25% of the water usage for toilets, you know what I mean?
So that's a county program that we market, like we've talked about in the past.
Oh,
Town-
we just market it?
Mhm,
Oh,
it's a
we don't-
pass-through program that the county
Oh, so they make all the
coordinates.
rules, like we can't, oh, okay, okay,
So if we wanted to do something over and above that, that could be a town program.
okay.
But right now, that the level that they're at is it's really it's the county's determination of how
Okay,
extensive or
okay,
how
that's
many
fine.
toilets would be available is it per house per year? 1 per house?
No, 1 per house forever.
Wow, 1 per house forever?
Yes.
So
What
it's
if you
ju-
move?
So it's
Yeah, no, yeah, you have to like, you know, sign over your house to your kid, and then you can get the second toilet, I guess. I don't know.
And
if
that kind of is consistent, you know, when you stop and think about it, the county's trying to induce people to make a good choice and make a sustainable, you know, furniture choice or bathroom choice.
Appliance.
A
Right.
porcelain choice,
Right.
to maybe motivate you to try it and see that it's, works better, it's more
Right.
efficient. Now do the others in your house, rather than paying for all the toilets in the house, or maybe offsetting that. It's an inducement to get started, you know, which is, I think, maybe the biggest hurdle is just getting started on something like that.
Well, I'm gonna hold out.
You're gonna hold out. Oh, good luck.
At some point. Thank you.
Oh, that's funny. So the other budget items that the group had talked about at the last meeting, so dog waste compost, the xeric landscape, so the option to coordinate with the homeowners association to host a bulk item pickup, which is at least partially funded by participants, was the item. So those were the items that we touched on. So Chris has a note included in the board's finance committee discussion, consideration of maybe finding a way.
I'm just gonna send an email tomorrow and see if we can get the ball rolling, at least maybe make an approval, discuss it as part of the work plan.
Cool.
And then maybe include it in the budget review.
And Martin, I know we had also talked about potentially at some point looking at the city's commercial energy codes as well and seeing if it made sense for the town to consider adopting the next level of energy codes. Is that something that needs to be planned for in the budget, or is that something more just kind of pending additional consideration?
It's going to be, it is incorporated in our annual budget, like we talked
Gotcha,
about the
okay.
cycle for International Energy Conservation Code.
That's right. I couldn't remember what the
Electric
answer
code,
was previously.
and it's just something that we have to get scheduled for the board and get
Okay,
done. It's just
perfect.
it's an additional item on my work plan. Like I think I told you, we were trying to get it on a board agenda for the fall. We're still.
Yeah, that's why I thought I remembered. I just couldn't remember for sure, so I went
And
double
it's on
check with
that
that.
3-year cycle, and then I think, Michelle, you had done a little bit of research on whether it was a big change or a small change.
Yeah.
You know, some years it's more substantial order of magnitude
Mm-hmm.
changes. I think the 2012 to 2015, if I remember correctly, you said it was one of the bigger change years, but the 2012 2015 was more incremental,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly. So it wasn't going to be a big jump. And then the 2018 were early indications that it was going to be a more substantial change.
That's
It
the
seemed like
best
it was
guess
every
at the
other
moment,
year.
but it,
Yeah.
we'll wait and see.
So yeah, on the calendar. It's just a question of when.
Excellent, thanks.
The item that I didn't have noted on here, or in the agenda when I sent it to you earlier this week, was a grant application. The Regional Air Quality Control Commission is a regional group of Denver counties and Denver area counties that sponsors and coordinates a bunch of projects, all related to air quality. And they've had an annual grant cycle that we've been able to take advantage of once or twice in the past to help buy the EVSE stations, the electric vehicle support equipment that you see, the charging stations out front of here and at Founders Park and at Community Park. We applied for a grant and we got it.
Excellent.
So we
Cool.
are going to be installing replacements, the dual phase replacements for these really early Eaton brand charging stations, which have had some maintenance difficulties, are going to be replaced. So we
Awesome.
just got the grant award a couple of days ago, and we're working on some paperwork now, and then it's just a question of scheduling it. So hopefully we'll be able
Very
to get
cool.
that install scheduled before the end of the year.
Sweet.
Nice.
Nice.
So that's some good news. I should have put that on the agenda.
You
I
put in the
didn't wanna
notes.
do it.
Celebration.
I needed one last piece of paperwork from RAQC today, and I knew if I put it on the agenda that I would have jinxed myself, so I didn't do it. That was it for new business and updates. The one other calendar item, I got a note from Leah Yancey at the Energy Smart office for the county that she wants to come to the November meeting and share a little bit about the county's zero waste action plan. So she'll plan to be here for the November meeting. So in a couple months, we'll plan to have her.
I once worked with the person in charge of the Boulder County, where you have to separate things. It was the most stressful workplace because everyone, if you threw something in, she would take it out and tell you. And so
Public
you'd
shaming.
stand there and you'd eat an apple. You'd be like, "Which trash can do I put it in?" Oh my gosh! It's like, I wonder if that's her. I can't remember her name.
I don't think it was Leah. Leah's been here before. She was here a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
no,
you
that's
were
not her.
recognized.
Okay.
Hopefully it wasn't her. It's not bad flashbacks for her. I had one question mark as a pending item. Lisa and Ezzy working on a carbon footprint reducing list of actions.
Yeah, it's about halfway done.
Is that halfway done? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you needed to be on an agenda or if you needed anything from staff on it.
I don't think so at the moment. As soon as I have an initial draft, I'll pass it around so that everyone can comment on it. But it's just basically one of the board members had asked if we could put together a list of suggestions for individuals in the community that are interested in reducing their greenhouse gas footprint. And so my plan is to kind of reference all the cool initiatives that the town already has, in addition to some general feedback as well and suggestions. So.
Would that be something you would want to share with the Rock Creek Living magazine to put in there and note
Quite
that
possibly.
it's from RCAC?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll look for, like you see in our newsletter, there's a lot of ways to try and get the word out
Yeah.
about good programs like that. That's great. Thanks
Can we
for
add that
working
as
on
an
it.
agenda item for next month, and then hopefully we have a draft by then that we can just discuss
Yeah.
about how we want to promote it or
Sure.
what makes sense?
All right, we're
So.
putting you down. That means you have a deadline.
I know.
No, they had an electric lawnmower thing, you know, where you could bring in, and I don't know why, but I didn't see it until like the smallest one was already sold out. And I wonder, did I hear about that through where did I hear about that? Was it through us?
It was in the
Yeah,
newsletter.
we put it in our newsletter every year, multiple months.
Okay, so they do
Yeah.
that every year, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, RAQC, I think, sponsors it. It's
Oh.
another air quality control group, and they've done it several years. I can't
Yeah, I
remember
ended
if
up
it's
getting
been-
it, I think, like through 3 different sources this year, which was interesting, because I know last year I only happened upon it at the last minute, but I think
Yeah.
they did a better job this year in some ways, even though you didn't see it, broadcasting it, so it was
Okay.
really in high demand.
Well,
Yeah, I think it's
because my
another one of
neighbor
those.
has one, it's really nice, and you know, because lawnmowers are horrible, they don't, you know, they just spew out, they don't have like the catalytic converters, you know, or
Correct.
something that
Mhm.
takes the smog out, is that the right thing that
Yep.
takes out? Okay, right. And my neighbor has, it's really quiet.
Yeah.
It's not polluting, you know, you can't smell it.
They're great. And I
Do
think
you
they
have
sell.
one?
They think they sell them at Lowe's and Home Depot now.
I know, I
Wait
didn't.
until next year.
Well, that's all serving now.
Only one per household.
You know what's really
Right.
terrible though, is that I've always used a push mower, like no motor at all. Of course, my teenage son does it and he complains anyways. But so you can't, I have nothing to trade in, so I have to find someone else's really bad. lawnmower
Yeah,
to
that's the
trade.
situation I was in. We finally upgraded to electric one just recently, but
You
couldn't
didn't have
take
one to
advantage of
trade
it.
in?
Nope.
Oh,
So
what were you using before, a push?
just a push.
Yeah, it's good, it's a good workout.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that. That's probably an incentive
Right.
alone, right? Just keep it.
I don't know, the electric one looks, you love yours, right?
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, I want one.
Yeah, they're great. The technology's gotten a lot better. The batteries are great. The early
Yeah, the
ones.
batteries are great, except both of our batteries overheated last weekend, we couldn't finish the lawn.
I actually got a corded one for that reason, just because I didn't have to deal with remembering to charge batteries and stuff.
Oh,
So
okay.
you just get a bright yellow cord and it works.
Yeah, my teenager would run over that cord.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've had one for years, and I've gone through at least half a dozen cords.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how bright it is, I still run out of it.
Yeah, probably just a matter of time.
I won't tell you that I reminded my son that if he did this in the morning, he wouldn't have the overheating problem.
Moms are always so smart.
Just a thought.
So that was it for new items and updates, and then calendar items. So I didn't have anything else I need to add to the list. We talked a little bit about upcoming agendas. Leo will be here. We'll have your carbon footprint list for next month. And then I'll see if the RTD pass giveaway is still
Yeah.
available. And I'll let you know.
Okay, great.
And I also have my agenda to look at the description of RCAC on the Superior website and see if there are ways to link to other existing
Oh, yeah.
offerings that the town has or resources or things like that. So that's
Yeah, that was
also
an
on my
item that
radar. I
came
just
up
haven't
a
had
couple
time to
months
get to it
ago.
yet.
That's good.
Yeah.
The
Gotta figure out a way to make us sound more exciting so that people
Exactly,
will apply.
yeah. Seriously.
I actually remember that when they first changed the website, being like, it's just not right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the other item that came up during that, I think it was the mayor that brought this up, was having the work plans. So if you haven't visited the website after that meeting, we went and installed or attached each of the committee's work plans to their respective sites, or their pages on our website.
Nice.
I remember to put your name in here, Chris. I'm usually 2 or 3 months late. You were officially.
Maybe we could recruit better if we change the name of our committee, because I don't even know what committee I'm on when I talk to people. I'm like, it's some sort of recycling and like reusing or.
I think that's
We should have a
something,
catchy name,
I think
right?
that's something we should seriously consider
You-
because.
yeah,
I agree, actually.
Sustainability Advisory Committee.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
we
like
could just be,
conservation
we could just be the
sustainability or something.
just the sustainability committee, I think would be more, the term sustainability has more cachet today than the term recycling. I think
Yeah.
recycling is a boring term for a lot of people, and also it doesn't fully capture the scope of our
Yeah, I
committee,
agree.
because we really do look at waste diversion, water conservation, energy efficiency, carbon footprint.
Mhm.
So it really is more, a broader definition of sustainability would be not only more accurate, but also more exciting. So we should consider it.
Do you,
Yay, I
does this
agree.
group have discussions on alternative energy, maybe implementing alternative energy sources in town? You know, did you read in the paper today that Netherlands is like one of the
Yes.
first
Mhm.
They're the
towns to
fourth in
commit to
Colorado.
100% off the grid by, what, 2025 or something
Mhm.
like that? So is that something that this committee would be charged of doing, or looking into if they wanted to have?
We would be happy to. We've been trying to get a little bit more kind of direction from the board in particular about exactly kind of to what extent it makes sense to focus on those types of things. We, like, on the board, we definitely, or sorry, on the committee, we definitely have a lot of expertise around energy in particular, along with other topics. So it's something we'd definitely be happy to do, but we want to make sure that it makes sense and is something that is supporting the board as opposed to just kind of throwing out suggestions that don't necessarily have a clear plan for following up on.
Right. Now, I'm not advocating for that now. I'm just asking because I agree that the name Recycling and Conservation Advisory Committee is somewhat limiting. I thought the group did more than that. So.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
So-
the group has traditionally taken on anything that was sustainability related,
Right.
and
Mhm.
offered advice or input for the board's consideration. Again, it would be something to make as a work plan item.
Martin, do you recall when there was a group in here that was presenting to the board, they wanted us to invest in solar gardens up in Boulder?
Hmm?
Did RCAP opine on that at all?
Hmm.
Did that come before them to?
It was when a previous staff member was still working with this group. It wasn't me serving as the staff liaison at the time. And I believe this group was involved in that. I don't think, Michelle, you were on the group then. But they were involved in at least providing some feedback, and that they were aware of it. But I don't know that they had an advocacy role.
Okay.
It was
Well-
something that the board took on and worked with the manager and finance director on extensively.
Okay.
And it took a while, and it ended up not being included for a couple of reasons, which I think they've kind of clouded in the back of my mind.
Okay.
Well, I think there would be the opportunity would be for us to actually officially not only change the name but change the mission, of the group,
Yeah.
and then make that part of our
I think
purview.
you guys are actually onto something because
Mhm.
recycling is a good thing. When we first moved to Rock Creek 20 years ago, remember we had the small bins for
Yeah,
newspapers
I
and
still have
recycling,
one.
right? Once we got the big bins, that's when I started recycling.
Right.
And I go,
Right.
wow, this is easier than I thought. It's not a big deal. But I think that recycling is not, like you say, it's not as exciting.
Mhm.
But when you start talking about looking into solar gardens and alternative energy sources and making the town better in that regard, I think then you start attracting more people on here. Then you have a waiting list of people who want to be in.
Absolutely.
So I'm all for that, and I'm not sure what the process would be of changing the name. I guess you'd be changing somewhat the scope according to the ordinance that we passed for this group. I mean, do we have to change all that too? Yeah, so all that would have to go to the board. But I think that's a good opportunity. There's a good opportunity for you guys to come before the board in a meeting, make some time and present that. Say that these are the things you want to do. This is what's important to us, and I would agree. And ask to change the name, come up with amend your work plan to implement some of those things. I think it's a great idea.
Cool.
Are you thinking work on it maybe this kind of into the fourth quarter or the next couple of months, and then have it ready for the board to consider before the end of the year, or have it be part of the work plan discussion?
Well,
Both.
I'm a big advocate for starting a new year fresh, and so providing that you're caught up on the work plan and there's really not a lot to discuss and do, put it on an agenda item, start discussing what you're going to present to the board and how you're going to make it exciting and who's going to be here and all that kind of stuff, and then set a time for the board, October, November, and say this is what we want to do. Give the board plenty of time, maybe a month or two, to get it in our plan so that we can discuss it and say yes, we like this, move forward with it. Because if you do it in December and you want to start January 1, it won't happen.
Gotcha.
But if you give the board plenty of time to ponder it, of course, there's going to be some that want to put their stamp on it and make their comments. But I think if you do it early enough, October, I think it gives plenty of time to react and make it done. I think it's a great idea.
So
Okay.
maybe have that as a discussion and potentially a recommendation item for the September meeting,
Sure, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
and then
Thanks.
try to get some time on a
Who-
plan for an October.
Do you want to
presentation.
take the lead on
Yes.
drafting that,
Excellent.
maybe?
Thanks so much.
Essie's got a lot of things
I
on
know, I
his
was like,
plate.
maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
If you plan to meet for the board, I'm going to be traveling the first 2 weeks of October, so try not to do it the first meeting in October. Try and do it the second meeting, so I'll
Okay.
get that meeting.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have at least one advocate there. And I think together we can put together a pretty convincing argument that the board would say,
Excellent.
why wouldn't we do this? That's the
Mhm.
goal.
So
And I
if-
think especially with so much of the, builders and developers coming into the downtown, they're super focused on sustainability. I think it'd be a perfect fit. So, yeah, I think that's great. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh,
cut you off.
no. So if Mike drafts that up, we can discuss it at the September meeting
Mhm.
and then finalize presentation to the board for October.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Okay.
good.
Second, right.
And I'll actually be out on paternity leave probably for a good chunk of November, which is
Did you
cool,
say-
so.
Did you say fraternity leave?
Paternity.
Congratulations.
Both. Yeah, thanks. So mid-October would be perfect, so,
Awesome.
yep.
I have a question. When we rename ourselves, is there any reason that we can't be a board? Do we have to be a committee, or can we be like a board?
Has to, all the town committees, they're all committees.
They're all advisory.
Yeah.
committees.
Post-ac is all an advisory committee, I think all of them are.
The exception to the rule is the planning commission and the historical commission, right?
Huh.
And there's certain reasons for that, but I think it would remain as an advisory committee.
Particularly since
Okay,
it's
okay.
a
Oh, so
volunteer
there's an
basis.
actual-
Advisory
there's, like,
committee, like Chris has
legal-
mentioned.
There's a
this-
legal difference, okay.
There's a legal
Yeah.
difference
Okay, I
in
didn't know.
advisory committees and what their roles are as appointed committees. Planning
Okay.
commission, like Chris is alluding to, has a statutory defined role in land use applications that they have to be specifically identified as a commission. I think the historical commission serves as an advisory committee, but their name predated. They were
Oh,
our
is that
first
why?
committee.
I thought that had
I
something
think
to
it's
do
that,
with
and because they
historical
can,
society or
I think
something.
because they can apply for grants based on what they're doing, I think that's part of
Huh.
it too, yeah. So the
Interesting.
town can apply for ours.
But they all come under the umbrella advisory committees, and that's how the town board's ordinance in 2012 was approved. Everybody was defined as an
That's
advisory.
right.
Okay.
So, Mike, I'm gonna send you the resolutions, the most recent resolution that the last time the board redefined what the roles are for the groups. I'll send you that. I'll try to send it in a Word format, but I might only have it as a PDF.
That's okay.
So you can make some changes to it and then include maybe, or maybe make some red line changes on what the group might want to contemplate next month. And then maybe
Mhm.
put it up on the board and then just talk about it, as potential suggestions for the board to consider for
That would be
changes to
fantastic.
the enabling resolution for the group. And then the name, if you want to think about different names. The group changed the name from Waste Diversion Advisory Committee to RCAC. I don't remember when that was, 2007.
That's better. Moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
My
Eventually we'll get there.
first binder was WDAC, and now it's
WDAC,
RCAC.
oh god.
We'll
We're
keep
just
changing
gonna-
it.
So,
Yeah.
it can only get better,
Come
right?
up with a really cool acronym first, and then figure out what the
Yes.
name is.
There you go.
But it has
Definitely.
to have AC.
Yeah, so SAC, I guess, if it's just sustainability.
Yep.
That'd be good.
That's the same as after school care.
Hmm?
Isn't that school after care or something like that?
That's true.
Not anymore.
Yeah, we're not gonna watch kids.
It could be the Advisory Committee for Environmental Sustainability and then be ACEs.
There you go, nice.
Oh,
That's actually kind of cool.
That is cool.
All right,
Nice.
Mike.
Okay.
There's my input.
Nice.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different sustainability-related groups. Maybe somebody's got a really cool name we can maybe steal a part of. It's a good idea. All right, so I'll plan on sending you that for the September meeting, Mike. And then I'll see if I can get a time on the second meeting in October with the board as a potential committee presentation item.
And we allocate time, not just presentations, or would this be during the presentation portion? Or would we allocate time like we did Monday night for advisory committees? to
Yeah,
present?
same idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Consideration and recommendations.
Yeah, that's good.
Presentation and direction, or if there's something that would have to come back that's an expenditure, come back as a separate agreement.
Cool.
All right, so we have next month's agenda really worked out.
Excellent.
So remaining on this month. So discussion, so we debriefed.
From May.
For a couple of us have gotten together in June and July and have
Yeah.
debriefed a little bit from the dinner session that the group had with the board in May. And then the recommended sustainability options for commercial builders, so new commercial development coming into town. We had the options list,
Mhm.
and then the potential for having a separate building code, and you had, and Essie did a great job. And Mike, you sent a very, really nice summary email after the fact, thanks for doing that.
Mhm.
Recognizing that Essie was on the spot, and I couldn't get the machine to work, and he had to kind of go from the print that you had in your hand. It was great. It was a great dialogue. But like we talked about the last couple of months, the board was interested in having some additional dialogue on this, but wanted to set some time, hopefully in the fall, maybe when we talk about the IECC, maybe set up a time, maybe on the same night.
Sure,
to
that'd be excellent.
Potentially consider what might make sense for how to incorporate sustainability options with commercial builders. And then as a follow-up in the May, so we talked a little bit about coming back for additional dialogue, and then in the interim, staff, I let the group know that I would notify you all if there was an application for any commercial development that comes up, and then the committee can offer comments and suggestions regarding anything that's sustainability related that would be in that application through the public hearing process, which anybody can do anyway, but I wanted, we talked a little bit about the fact, even in this kind of interim period, even if there isn't a scoring sheet associated with the project or something that's is well-defined and has been approved by the board to use, in the interim, you can still do the same thing on any commercial application and have it be part of the public hearing process. So I'll be sure and keep you in the loop on that.
Cool.
There is going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, one commercial application coming in, and it would be for one of the pad sites that's in the marketplace. Ethan Allen has owned one of the pad sites there for 10 years?
Forever.
12?
Yeah, at least.
It's got to be,
Because we were
it has to be
discussing
over
that
10
and
years.
giving them extensions when I first got on the board. It's
Wow.
almost 10.
And that would have, I think that would have been their second extension, and they're good for 2 years. So it's at least 2005-ish,
Yeah.
at the most, or at the earliest. So they've owned that site for a number of years, and they've let us know that they're going to enter into the development review process. So next month I'll probably have that as another agenda item for you. We're going to have a busy September.
Bring snacks.
Yep,
Does
popcorn.
that mean that Ethan Allen is gonna build a store, or that means they own the property and you don't know what they're gonna present?
They've owned the property forever,
Right,
not
but
forever.
it doesn't mean, it means some other business could go there, right?
It's probably them though. I thought on the last extension, they made the
would be-
commitment that they were for sure building, they
Yeah,
just
they
were gonna.
It wasn't
They were
Ethan
out,
Allen.
not gonna happen, and then they got a new real estate person in, and
Oh.
I think it's changed, and
Huh.
this is what we've heard, it hasn't been confirmed. It would be Ethan Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought I remember
If you
from
own-
like the
if you're
last
an-
time,
If you're
yeah.
Ethan Allen and you own property, you build Ethan Allen stores, or you sell the
I
property.
didn't know, right?
It's a-
For the paw
it's-
store or
yeah,
something,
it's-
right?
It's a good question, but I think the way their corporate structure works, and probably the
Okay.
way a lot of retail businesses are, if they wanted to be in the land use business, they wouldn't sell furniture. They sell furniture in their stores.
Right.
And
So-
trustee-
they've held on to this property all these years.
Yeah.
So like
That's
Chris mentioned,
amazing.
you
That's
know, it's
crazy.
great
That's impressive.
I remember
after
when I
getting
moved here, they were-
at least 2 extensions.
I think we did more than that.
Really?
And we
I
did
think there were
3,
two.
and then I think the 4th we said.
Yeah, and that's when they said they were for sure gonna make the commitment to build, they just needed this last one, so that's, I remember the whole
The
news being
last
like
one
that.
expired at least 3 or 4 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
and they just never came back for an extension. So it's great. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that I missed the first part, but I didn't know if trustee Hansen understands why we're asking Martin to bring by commercial stuff through us, just so we can take a glance at it.
Well, does this have to do with the meeting with the board before you present it?
Yeah, because,
Yeah, that was
because
it.
the board didn't get
Okay.
building things into place before this commercial happens. There's no oversight as to whether or not they're doing anything environmental-wise for
Okay.
the codes that we suggested, because it's not actually in the town code.
That's right. But we didn't we amend the code several years ago? I mean, when I was on the board, after I got on the board, we amended it to not the most current standards, but there was one just below it.
That was
I
for,
forget what year it
that was for housing, it wasn't for
It
commercial.
wasn't commercial, though.
Unfortunately, we really missed the boat on it.
The green building code that you're familiar with is the
Yeah.
long process the planning commission and the board looked
Right,
at.
right.
That was specifically for residential, not for commercial.
Yeah, so right now on the residential side, we're in a pretty good position and looking
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
It's just on the commercial side that we've seen that there are areas for improvement in our view. So that's why we're providing multiple options, try and help provide some alternatives to consider. So
And I did not watch the meeting. It was a work session, right?
No, it was a board presentation during
Mhm.
the May 22nd.
Okay.
It was no, you're right, I'm sorry, it was a dinner presentation. So the committee had their dinner first, and then during that meeting's presentation items, SE stayed and made his presentation with an invisible PowerPoint.
Yep.
So the objections, were they that we might slow down commercial development in the town, if we make it too difficult or too expensive?
I think that was one of the ongoing questions. There weren't really any active objections necessarily. I think there's a lot of positive feedback about it. But yeah, that was certainly one of the questions that came up, is how this is going to affect potential development in downtown. And I think where it ended up at that particular night was that the board said they'd like to talk about it further and think about it, but I'm not sure if that's on the agenda yet. So I think it's just kind of been in limbo since then.
So it was left that the board would take it upon themselves to review, not to come back with RCAC and review.
Close, but the committee would be scheduled to come back and have some further dialogue with the board.
It's just unfortunate timing, because what needed to
Mhm.
happen is that building codes needed to be updated commercially so that we were also in sync with modern expectations on energy
Right.
savings before any of this started happening, and
Yeah.
it didn't happen.
Okay. So I remember we had a discussion with the board a couple of boards ago, that one of the suggestions that came up, and I don't ever know if it ever happened, was have RCAC actually do outreach to the current businesses with suggestions on how they could be more energy efficient. So I don't know if that happened, but moving forward, I think the board would be hard pressed to book an agenda item to discuss it amongst the board. Instead, what we should do is plan for a retreat. We do this retreat.
And that was actually one of the ideas that came up originally, actually, was to do a retreat specifically focused on this topic to figure it out.
Perfect venue to do that.
Mhm.
Unless I think the better venue would be the work session like you did, but the next best thing is for the board to discuss amongst themselves would be a retreat.
Mhm.
And if we had all the information that you had that we could review, it'd be even better. And if you guys want to be, that's open, it should be there.
Sure, I'd certainly be happy to help out if I can.
So we just have to figure out when is the next retreat?
October 2nd.
Okay. So October 2nd could be on there, discussion. I would say do it then and not later because of the year and all that.
Is there anything we should do on our side to help make sure that happens, or is that more kind of up to the board to set that agenda?
Well, I'm going to make a note. I think it would be good if maybe you prodded me too.
Okay.
Reach out to the board. 'Cause,
Sure.
When the meeting is announced, the town manager will say, here are some suggested items of discussion. Does anybody have any other items? And I can either be proactive and send them out now, or I can reply to that then. So I think the sooner we get on it and get it in the queue, the better. So let's plan on doing that in the next few days. And we can send
Okay.
it out to the board and the town manager, say, hey, we'd like to have this as a discussion item at the next retreat.
Perfect, thanks. I'm just adding that to my phone, yeah.
Oh, I don't recall what time it is. It's probably, well, I'll include it in the meeting notes.
Yeah. Can't remember if they're like 5 or 5:30 or 2.
Chris, I have it packed out for that night.
Oh, good. Can I keep this or?
Sure. Were there additional items that you wanted to talk about from the May 22nd session with the board? So we talked a little bit about the commercial building measures and the recommendation from this group, and then the staff recommendation was in there, and we had some dialogue on that leading up to the meeting. Was there, I don't know, I feel like we've had a couple of good conversations kind of individually over the last couple of months. Was there some additional follow-up items? Mike, like I mentioned, you sent out a follow-up email. Was there something on that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I would just highlight during the board, the more broad, wide-ranging discussion over dinner, that what I heard and interpreted from several board members is an interest in sustainability, but not specific, policies or incentives, ideas. So I interpret that to be actually kind of a bit of an open door for this committee to develop
Mhm.
those recommendations and come back. So on the one hand, I heard, I forget who said it, but something like, wouldn't it be great if Superior was the most sustainable town in Colorado or America? Some of these kinds of statements. I also heard some hesitation and, desire not to be heavy-handed, not to introduce strict mandates and things like this. So I think
Incentives instead of mandates, a couple of.
a favor for incentives instead of
Yeah.
mandates, exactly. And so I think that gives us a little bit of guidance and a lot of leeway in just what types of recommendations we bring forward in the future. And I would encourage us to think broadly and creatively about what we would actually do and recommend to make this town, the most sustainable it can be.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of runway, at least, to bring in creative recommendations to the board, and I would encourage us to do so over the future. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Like I
agree.
mentioned, it was a real positive dialogue in the group. Although there was some folks that were really focused on education. I think the mayor was really interested in focusing on education and outreach, and there were a couple of folks who were interested in, I think the word was pragmatic choices, finding things that had some real value for a smaller community like ours, but also some big picture stuff.
Mhm.
The group seemed very receptive to the ideas that the committee has.
One of the things I also picked up, particularly from the dinner, was that it might be helpful to kind of refine the broad sustainability goals that the town currently has, to include some more specific things to work towards. So beyond just kind of promoting sustainability, what's that mean? Do we want to, which areas do we really want to focus on? So I think that might be something as well to help with. But I do agree that as it currently stands, it seems kind of like an open door to have us provide recommendations on a number of different levels and work with the board to hopefully come up with something that's going to work really well with the town.
Yeah, picking up on that, Azzy, I think there's a couple options. One is if we're coming forward with a recommendation to change the name and the scope of the committee, there's an opportunity at a high level and somewhat generally to put some of those things into that in
Absolutely.
terms of what
Totally
the
agree.
definition of scope is.
Mhm.
Shouldn't be too specific, I think, for that document, but
Absolutely.
but set some guide rails. And then once we get into setting our work plan for next year, I think that's an opportunity to go one level deeper and say, we believe that our goals are reducing the carbon footprint, carbon emissions in this town, or increasing waste diversion, or reducing water, whatever it is, and then go one level more specific. In the long term, then we could consider the most specific level, which is the detailed sustainability action plan, which is something that
Absolutely.
Louisville has, and I believe Lafayette has, and Boulder obviously has, and Lyons, and so many of our surrounding communities. So I'm excited about that trajectory too. I think in the near
Absolutely.
term, there's a couple steps we can take that don't require any major commitments, that we can just kind of get into our work plan as a starting point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question? You guys obviously, you appear to know a lot about this alternative energy and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that the goals that Netherlands has just put in place are achievable by them?
I don't know enough about Netherlands goals to really speak on that in an educated way. So I don't know.
I would speak generally. I mean, we know that, so there's 4 communities now in the state of Colorado that have done this. Vail already claims
That's
to have
right.
achieved,
Aspen?
or it's not Vail, sorry, Aspen is correct. Aspen claims to have already achieved 100% renewable energy. Boulder has the goal. Pueblo has just set their goal this
right.
year,
That's right.
and now Netherlands. And I would just say there's communities around the country do this, and there's a wide range of just how you do the accounting and what you credit yourself for.
Mhm.
And some are more achievable than others, and the ones that are more achievable are arguably less impactful,
Right.
really. So I think Cincinnati maybe was one of the first major cities to do this, but it's really just kind of on paper. They're buying the renewable credits
Yeah.
to offset the same amount that they produce. So, and then the furthest end of the spectrum is that all the energy is generated or purchased directly from renewable facilities located in the community or surrounding.
Mhm.
So there's a wide range. I don't know where Netherlands is falling on that
Yeah.
range, but there certainly are achievable options.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I like the idea, and we had a discussion a month or 2 ago about the goals that are up here. And I love the idea that, let's update that. Let's see if we can do a better job
Mhm.
or make our goals better. But it has to be something that we can achieve. And if it's just that we
Absolutely.
put a number out there that we're going to be 100% self-sufficient in 10 years, can we really do that? And if we can't, then it doesn't really mean anything.
Mhm.
So things that we can achieve, but things that we have control over, and we actually can make a difference ourselves, then that's the best thing, and that's where you're going to get buy-in from the board.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty sure I know most of the board members well enough that if you come together with a plan like that, they're going to say, why would we do this?
Mhm. Cool.
So some near-term items to think about: the commercial sustainability and the mission and resolution, enabling resolution for the group, and then you extend that over to the work plan for January discussion. All right. some stuff to talk about over the next couple of months.
Mhm.
Excellent.
So we didn't have anything else on the agenda. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over?
No,
Michelle?
did you guys already get volunteers for Chili Fest then?
Caitlin
If
volunteered.
you want to also volunteer.
No, I appreciate it. It's the same day as the CU football game, so.
I might be able to, but I have a really big work conference the following week, so I'm gonna have to play it by ear a little bit. to
Okay.
It's
see if
all right.
I can make that work or not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
I worked 2 hours last year and it was fun. I did it last year, it was fun. And
Mhm.
if I can do it with my work schedule, but I don't know what it is yet.
Cool.
What you guys gotta do is, one of you work the booth for a bit while the others are in the beer fest.
Oh,
There you go.
Switch out and you rotate, right?
Have some really exciting conversations later on in the day.
It's more exciting, I'm telling you.
Some heated
At some point it might make
discussions
sense to
about
have the
waste
committee's
diversion.
booth.
Yeah.
At the beer
The
fest.
committee's booth in the beer fest, even better. Good idea.
Oh,
You'd be the most
last
popular
year,
committee.
We
last
should
year-
actually, it's not a bad idea.
Last year,
Pour
the big
waste inspired
discussion was
beers.
on fracking. They didn't realize, like, no one else knew, because I had read the Supreme Court, you know, the thing about fracking was gonna be allowed. Like, that was the big discussion, was how they were gonna open it up in Boulder County.
At the
And
beer
they're
fest.
like, yes. And they booed.
Chris, you and I missed that
And the
one.
booth, because back then, 1 year ago, no one believed it. And I said, no, they're gonna have to allow fracking. The Supreme Court ruled, we cannot stop it. You know, there's nothing left for us, and no one believed it. And they're like, you're kidding.
Hmm.
And see, I was right.
Let the record
That's-
show.
But it was fun.
Caitlin, I will commit to coming after the game. The game's at noon, so we should
Okay.
be done before. And, you know, like,
Okay.
missing all of the Chili Fest, like, hurts our hearts, so.
Aw.
We'll definitely come down and
Okay.
join you afterwards.
Where are they
Okay.
playing, do you know?
I think Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
My daughter's in the band.
Oh,
It's
cool.
her 3rd year.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's fun.
They've got a good
Okay.
group going there. They've got a good group that does that, the whole marching band there. 'cause
Oh, yeah.
It's all like walk on, you do it because you want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
fun.
It's awesome.
Well, I think if that's everything on the agenda, does anyone else have any final comments or questions, concerns?
I wish e-bikes were cheaper.
I know, they're really fun. I got to play on one a little bit ago.
So can I clarify, are we gonna
Yeah.
actually talk, is it next meeting where we can talk about maybe what we wanna encompass when we talk about renaming? Like maybe, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring your
okay.
ideas.
Okay, I will
Absolutely.
do that. I always
Yeah.
have ideas.
Look at what
I
other
don't-
Mike's gonna
communities are
start a
doing.
draft and
I'll
then we'll
draft
discuss.
something.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely. Yeah, cool. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, because it could help us get out of our little stuck thing here.
I think that would be a huge help in getting some actual
Recruiting new
yeah, volunteers.
members.
I think right now people looking recycling about that.
What do you say?
Probably because of me. I'm probably willing to do that.
Oh.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone.
So our
Think we
next
can
meeting
go ahead
is
and-
September
14.
14th?
Okay.
Okay.
It's on here? Yeah, September
Oh.
14th.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for
I
being
hope I can make
flexible
that
and
work.
moving to this week. rather
Well,
than
I'm
last week.
glad we moved it. I was
Yeah.
able to make it.
So,
I think it should be good.
this is your first, right?
Yep,
Nice to
first.
meet you. If you have any questions or
Exciting.
you want an application, let me know. It's on our website.
That's why I haven't gotten all the architects.
I don't know, when I give birth, I don't even care. Like, I don't even care about the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's such
Yeah, I'll
a
send you the
learning
link.
experience. I'm like, whatever, you know, so it's coming out of bed.
Yeah, it's in there too.
Feeling good, I'm like, "Oh, it's fine."
See you guys.
Baby's born.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
I have one daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 1 year old.
Okay, you know, it's
All
just,
right. Any guesses?
I don't know why.
On
it's
gender
such a
or-
beautiful- It's horrible, it's like
You gonna pick out a
being in a
big
car accident
Yeah.
giving birth, don't you
Yeah, let's
think?
play it.
Well, you didn't do it.